Can I have your attention? These beaches are officially closing for today. That means absolutely no more swimming. Pretty bad. Hello, everyone. This is Dr. Michael Katchmar. Welcome to Lifeguards Off Duty with Dr. Michael Katchmar. Today's date is, what's today's date? May the 10th, the year of our Lord, 2023 AD. And thank you for tuning in. We have a great show today. We have a guest today. We have our...
I'm here as usual.
As usual, we have Tyler.
Last week. Katchmar canceled on us last week.
Sean is not here. And
Sean canceled this week.
Yeah. And we have a guest today. One of right here. So we have Corey from Island Beach State Park. He's coming in. He's a lieutenant there. He's going to give us some insight on what's going on down there. And
but you got a couple stories you want to cover first, right?
Yeah. So just everybody, listen. If you're on YouTube, please subscribe and put some comments in. But definitely subscribe, please. We love to hear it. We're going to get
share. Tell everybody about us.
We're getting some shirts soon, so we're going to be giving them out.
Show the shirts. I should have told you to throw yours on. I gave Corey a shirt too. But Catch, put the camera on me real quick. We got the new. Where's my camera? Lifeguards off duty tees with the. Yeah. Let me see if I can do this without breaking anything. Doug Paris drawing on the back. Pretty sick.
Yeah, we'll get some more.
So we're getting more of these made. They'll be for sale. Maybe we'll do some fun like contests for giveaways.
Yeah, we'll give away. We're going to give away a lot too. So, all right. So anweanyway, let's.
Hey, don't make any promises. We got to be. The studio costs a lot of money to run, doesn't it?
Well, we got all different colors and everything. Actually, I get them probably done Friday. So anyway, we got a couple things I want to talk about. So there's this thing that's going on. It's in Florida right now, but it's all around the Caribbean, and it's been getting worse and worse and worse. And what it is this seaweed. Now, the seaweed grows normally in the middle of the ocean, and sargassum sea is called, the sargassum sea. So it's sargassum. And if you go in the middle of the ocean, it's just hundreds of miles of just grass, and what it is, it's seaweed that grows on top. It floats. It actually has air bladders, and it shields a lot of fish, mahi for one, and also what do you call it? A lot of sea turtles and stuff like that. They live there, and it's a shelter for fish. But what's happening over the past years? It's been proliferating. It's been growing exponentially fast. Now, Corey asked me why. I don't know why. Some people say it's the global warming, the nutrition, the nutrients in the water. Who the heck knows? It could be a lot of reasons. But what's happening, though, is when it builds up and it doesn't cause a problem out there, it's actually probably good, except for the ships. It could foul up the intakes because ships use water to cool the engines. But what will happen is this stuff comes to the beach, and then
to put the camera back.
Then it dies. And is this what we're seeing? This whole thing here, just this here? Because you got this whole thing. I don't know. No, really. What is it showing?
Yeah.
All right, you say that. But so what's happening is that it's coming to the beach and it's stinking. It's causing foul odor really bad, and you can't swim in it. It's just so bad, and it gets bugs, flies. It's just really bad. So let's read this here. So this is an article. It says massive. You want to read it, Tyler? Yeah.
That massive blob of seaweed piling up on Florida beaches. Is it bad for tourists or bad for tourists? Good for wildlife.
So read the article a little bit.
You want me to read the whole article?
No, just pull it up though.
I think that's it. Oh no, I think it's just a video you have here. Kat.
Yeah, we'll put the video on for a little bit. Let's check it out. Put it on so people can watch it a little bit. It's pretty neat.
A record-breaking amount of smelly seaweed is washing up on Florida's beaches, and some tourists are not.
That does look pretty gross.
The
yeah, watch it.
The blob spans more than 5,000 miles.
5,000
yearly from the shores of Africa to the Gulf of Mexico. Scientists say the amount of sargassum seaweed continues to increase over previous months in most regions. Its presence may not be good for tourism, but my next guest says it is good for wildlife. So joining me now...
You could shut up. You don't have to do it anymore.
So what exactly makes it good for wildlife?
Well, like I said, it's a great cover for animals. animals need cover when they're it shields them from the sun. It attracts lot of
Can
little.
fish get sunburn?
No, but what happens is it'll attract like a little. It protects. So the little plankton, the little fish, they hang out there. The bigger fish try to eat them, and the bigger fish, and so it's a good food source. The little turtles the turtles could hide there. So it's easy to get away from the predators. So you could hear it sounds. Fish get sunburn. Here you
Fish
go.
can get sunburn. It says koi kept in ponds are particularly susceptible to sunburns, as are fish in outdoor farming facilities where overcrowding forces fish to the surface. I wonder if they have any strategies for, like, remember those fish we were talking about in Australia that figured out how to breathe air?
Yeah.
I wonder if any fish out there have evolved a strategy to avoid getting sunburned.
I don't know, but
Stay under the seaweed.
Yeah,
right,
I guess,
but
stay under the sargassum.
Right. But I can tell you, when I sail and I go from Grenada up to St. Thomas, and I've done that many times back and forth, you'll go through miles and miles and miles. And over the years, it's gotten worse and worse and worse. And the thing is that it fouls up if you're trying to fish and some intakes. But it's great for fishing. I mean, it holds a lot of mahi. So I don't know how it's going to turn out to be, how bad. But when it hits the beaches, now it's hitting Florida. So that's a lot of tourism. They got millions and millions of dollars worth of tourism. You go down there and you want to have a vacation. It sucks. What they have to do is every morning they got to get the tractor, clean the stuff. And some people are saying using it for fertilizer. I don't know where they're putting it, but they got to remove it every day. And
Sounds like a good idea.
It's bad down in the Caribbean. Not a lot of countries have the ability to clean it up, So it's interesting, but it's becoming used. So if you go to Florida this summer, or the Carolinas, or you go into the Caribbean, you're going to see this stuff. It stinks when you see it. It really smells bad, super bad. So that was one. The other thing, we had another article here. I want to just touch bases on. So now we got the summertime coming along, and we're all concerned about drowning. Especially in pools. There was just a kid drowned, I forget where, some famous football player. His son just drowned. They were in Florida.
Oh, really?
Yeah. You could pull it up. But
I heard about this.
Yeah. Every year there's kids who drown in a pool. It's funny, if you look at the statistics, Corey, it's boys, and they're like 2 years old. Terrible's too.
One of the number one leading cause of accidental death for kids, whatever the age is, but it's...
Yeah. And, also there was a kid who just got buried in the sand down in Carolinas, I heard, too. But what's going on here is two things. We have the pool.
Shaquille Barrett.
Yeah.
2-year-old daughter drowned.
So there's a girl. See that? Oh, man, that's I can't even just imagine. Poor guy. I mean, that's our prayers and hearts go out to that. That's a tough one. It was in their backyard pool, right?
Yeah. That's just one of those things where, there's no way you ever see that coming.
No. No, and you try to teach the kids to swim and everything, but there's a lot of safety things you try, but you have to be so careful. So
what do we think? What do we think about those people that are just I just threw my kid into the pool and and they say kids know how to float up to their back.
No,
I watched the swim instructors at the Y. Corey's the head swim coach there. Yeah. It doesn't look like it works that way.
That's the old school way of thinking.
Yeah.
But
you make it, you do, you don't. But I think it was this one might have actually learned this somewhere along the line that most of those kids that drown in pools, an adult is somewhere within reach, and they just didn't recognize the signs and know to go into action before they realize it's too late.
Because it's not as dramatic as you'd think.
No, it doesn't look like it does in movies.
Yeah,
very undramatic.
I would
not
say
much splashing. They kind of because
no, they go down.
They
quick.
can't splash. If they were splashing, they'd be breathing.
No.
Yeah, they're yelling to help, but they're quiet.
So I would tell you a couple things. One is in a pool or in the ocean, don't rely. You want to be when there's lifeguards. Go where there's lifeguards, no doubt about it. But you also can't rely on the lifeguards 100%. You got to be your own child's advocate. When I had my kids, I like Ava now when she was smaller, my grandchild. I wouldn't let her out of my eyes when I'm on the beach. I wouldn't go lay down in a chair and fall asleep. I would drink coffee and stay awake, and I'd watch her, continuously. The other thing is put a life preserver on. If you're going to go in a kayak or you're going to go surfing and you're not the best swimmer in the world, put a life jacket. There's ones that are small. There's ones with a ripcord. There's ones that you could inflate when you hit the water. And there's low profile ones, and even in the pool.
What if you're on a beach where life jackets aren't allowed?
Well,
like Seaside
I
Heights?
know. But if we do allow the kids if they're walking around on the beach. If they start to go in the water, we pull the plug because they're going out far. So we don't. I don't stop the kids from walking around if they're playing around on the water's edge and they got. We let it all the time. I don't think so. You don't want to have kids with a life preserver floating out in the ocean. They get caught in the currents, the waves hit them. They could still drown. You could drown with a life preserver on in the surf. You could definitely, unless you have one that really holds your head up. But even that, you could be pushed under for quite a long time.
Yeah. So I think that the main reason we don't allow them is the false sense of security it offers. It's not necessarily that it's not gonna it might save the kid's life if they get pulled out, but we don't want them to think that they have that level of security. If
you look at the USLA manual, they'll tell you they have a whole thing about it. Because if you start, it gets more complicated. Let's just say you allow life preservers on the beach. What kind of life preservers? What type? And people go to Walmart and get some bullshit life preserver. Now you want to have Coast Guard approved life jackets, and then there's ones that the collar will hold the head up if you're unconscious. And it goes on and on and on. I still think though a life preserver in a surf situation is not the best thing in the world.
If anything, probably makes it worse because one of the big things for us, we don't allow them either. One of the big things for us is the risk of neck and spinal injuries, right? Because you're just basically putting yourself. Imagine a giant parachute in front of a giant fan. You're just going to get knocked around, and
same idea.
Get banged up.
Right. No, there's this, but let's go back to that. But the article here, I just want to point out for everybody. Listen, pools are dangerous. Ocean's dangerous. Now the spring's here. Everybody's opening up their pools. I tell you right now, the pool should have a fence around it. If you have kids, you got to lock that pool up, especially if they're young, 2, 3, 4-year-olds. That's where it's really bad. And you want to try to get these kids, take the time and try to train them. Go to a YMCA or something, get them trained to learn how to float and deal with the water. Yeah. And there's pools where the cover goes on. There's alarms. You could buy these things where, if the water gets disturbed, the alarm goes off.
Well, Sean and I have been preparing a show on AI in lifeguarding and thinking about and looking at how it's going to affect our jobs, because as any technology advances, it's going to seep its way into any industry. And a few of the ones we were looking at were these systems for pools in particular that use cameras and sensors they detect disturbances in the water. They detect if a swimmer is moving in not a natural way, and then they'll send alerts. Either they have them for public pools where they will send alerts to a lifeguard who's got a watch or some sort of display, and it'll say exactly where the person is in the pool. And then they also have home systems where it'll go to your phone or an alarm will start ringing in the house. So
I'm very sure there's a lot.
But they also have beach ones that will recognize rip currents and single swimmers. It's kind of crazy looking. But my worry with stuff like that is what happens when we become too reliant on it.
Oh, we won't. It's just like everything else. There's pros and cons. But
you're relying on that iPad when you weren't used to be, right?
I think that what a good point you're making though is a lot of technologies out there. Even without the AI, there's tons of stuff.
And that's another point I was going to make. They have drones now that will drop a buoy to a victim as the lifeguards swim the ropes out.
I would say this is what we do. If you have a party at your house, you got a pool, there's people around, there's a lot of kids, every kid's got to have a life preserver. And you know what? A lot of times we have a lifeguard. I mean, if it's a big party. But if it's just family and everything, either there's one kid or two kids, or you put a life preserver. And I push it big time. I'm like, put a preserver on a kid. And they're like, I don't give a shit, And I think that's a good way to go. I think it helps a lot. So anyway, I just want to bring that up. For you guys, the pool, it's the lifeguards have, they get overwhelmed themselves. They're not watching. So you have to be your own advocate. And then in the ocean, that's another whole thing. Don't ever swim without a lifeguard. Don't ever, ever, ever swim without a lifeguard. And even a pool. Now, there was a drowning in Bayonne, New Jersey last year. And I want to make a point. And what it was interesting. You talk about, this is a pool. So they had one section of a pool, and then they had another section. And the pool was, I don't know if they was connected. It might not have been connected. One was a deep diving pool. The other one was a swimming pool. The diving pool was closed off. And lifeguards were concentrating on the pool where the people were swimming. So kids came in. They didn't know. they went into the pool that was unguarded, and you know, I guess the lights were on, and 2 kids drowned.
Yeah, that would be something that these systems would detect.
One kid, I think they saved, but he died. There was 2 brothers. I think there were 2 brothers.
Yeah,
And,
you're right. Was that like a school or something?
Yeah. And it was lifeguards there. Now I'm not criticizing the lifeguards. You know, it wasn't in their field. They weren't expecting anybody to swim in that pool. That pool was closed. Now, even though it was, you know, maybe it was 50 yards away. I don't know how far. You know. So these are the things that happen. Even in your place, you know, you got people off beach. You could see them maybe, but there's no guards there, and you know, it becomes an issue. The odds of drowning in front of a lifeguard are
Very
you know,
small.
1 in a million.
Infinitesimally.
Well, you could still drown.
Infinitesimally small.
Right, but the opposite is significant. Drowning without a lifeguard is pretty high. You know, so. Anyway,
It's an important job.
Yeah. All right. So what else now? What else you want? What else you guys? Do you have anything else that you had set up?
Summer's almost here, dude. How are preparations coming on Island Beach?
We're getting there this weekend. Got some of at least half the patrol coming in for the first recert weekend. We do another one, and MDW, we're there.
What's that
Out in full
process
force.
look like, your recertification?
So mainly the most important thing is going to be the CPR, the first aid stuff, because that's the one that takes the most time to do. You got to get everybody in a classroom setting. And then we'll take everybody out. We're going full, you know, we go wetsuits in the ocean. We go through every rescue technique, top to bottom. And, you know, we have a little fun. We get a little silly when we do it, but still it's a good refresher, even for, you know, the more experienced people, just because it's been at the soonest, you know, what we were doing like 8 months ago. It's been almost a full year, so it's good to just talk about it and go through it. Definitely for, you know, those second and third year guards coming back, and they might just forget one thing, because, you know, I find that year after year where it's all the techniques are simple, but there's the nuance to it. You know, like just remembering just how to balance on a board and what exactly to do. There's all those things you pick up year after year, but you think about, you know, something we do 3 to 4 months a year. It takes a couple summers to really lock it in, but we go through the whole thing top to bottom, full days out of it. Kind of get everything hyped up. You know, we do some setup work all at the same time, because we kind of handle everything in-house too, getting all our equipment ready, getting stands, like we paint them, we do all of it. So
You paint them every year?
oh yeah,
Nice.
Yep, yeah, we move everything around, we get it ready, and then so that weekend, the 27th, we're sitting in the wood.
Ready to go.
So we did a show last year with you for training with Off Beach.
Yeah.
I had my granddaughter with me. So how many, did you guys have any Off Beach rescues last year? How was it last year? Because I don't remember. Was it not that? We had some rescue. In June, it was pretty bad. Remember, we had a lot of rescues in June.
Yeah. I
And
wasn't able
I
to be around much in
I
September.
think after that, it mellowed out. I don't think it was that bad. You kind of, I don't remember, Corey. I don't think it was. But did you have any Off Beaches? Or?
We have them every year.
But you don't remember.
They really
They blend in?
They start to blend in. I mean, you know, there's going to be those big ones.
Yeah.
That anything, usually the biggest rescues that involve the most resources and are the most serious are the ones that happen off beach, because when they're in the house, you know, the part.
Yeah,
that
that's
we
what I'm talking
guard
about,
is
off
when
beach.
we cover it, right? So you're not going to have any kind of crazy rescues. Not that it can't happen on the the beachfront, but down island is where things can get a little more hectic. So yeah, we have them. Trying to think of, I can't really remember too many from last year. Last year was like the summer of the jet ski. We had multiple like missing persons who were stranded on jet skis. We had to respond to an individual who was ejected from a jet ski. So coordination with Seaside Park Fire and EMS and everything, like medics and everything, to try and locate them and then get them to shore and figure out where in the bay are they. And, a couple different jet ski related things. Those are the ones that stand out in my mind from last year.
How was the what do you call it? The flotilla? What do they call that thing?
Flotilla.
Floats and boats. That
was
one's
that?
always a good one.
Have you
was
ever
it
been? Have you ever been able to enjoy that not as a lifeguard?
No, and I don't think if I had the day off, I'd be able to sit there and relax.
How big was it? Was it any issues?
Yeah, actually,
It's every year we're down there for at least one thing or another. So like the first year or two that was an event. It kind of caught everybody off guard, and it started growing, got bigger and bigger. So we were going down there multiple times in a day, but now the Ocean County Sheriffs have a whole setup. There's a state police helicopter overhead all day. There's sheriff boats in the water, state marine police. So like there was, I mean, I could tell you some of the things we've responded to.
So let everybody in the audience know. So what this thing is they have hundreds and hundreds of boats anchored in the bay.
Thousands, Mike.
Thousands. Okay,
Like,
so thousands.
Right, it's like as far as the eye can
Right,
see.
and this
you
is
go on the dock at
Right.
Texas Shoal. There's boats 2 miles to the north, 2 miles to the south. It's thousands. So like,
like
so let me
it's
give you a quick example. When somebody calls, something happens, somebody's missing, somebody's injured, whatever happens, somebody calls 911. That dispatch, county, Trenton, everything gets relayed to us. And they say the victim's on a white boat.
yeah, you don't know.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
How
Yeah.
do you find them?
Even if they give you the name of the boat or
Not
the,
happening. So
Well, let me-
I would literally. Now I wasn't there, but I would compare the sprawl of Flotilla. It's probably like the amount of area that these boats cover is probably similar to like what Woodstock was.
Here-
Like,
this is like early in the morning
Yeah,
from
let me-
like
yeah,
2
put
years
it,
ago.
Put it on and see if we
yeah,
can
just
see
put
it.
it in your camera there.
Oh yeah, you can see it. There you go.
So that's
Let
like
it-
really
yeah,
early
yeah.
in the morning before it really fully, filled in.
There you go.
Those are all the like
there be-
really committed people.
Yeah, they're there early and it fills in and it's usually packed. And I mean, especially right by the dock. So you could see, like, I'll zoom in a little bit. Like this is, you can see that that's like, 15 boats that are all just kind of moored together kind of thing. So these people are
There you
out
go.
there for the long haul. And there's thousands and thousands. Like on an average busy weekend, like 2,000 boats out there.
You have-
floats and boats, you're getting like,
You have any more pictures?
I want to go back to something.
Put this. Well,
It's fine. He can just show it to
So
the
let me
camera.
wait before you start. Let me ask you. You mentioned no, that's the wrong
that's
end.
the wrong
yeah.
end.
Yeah.
That was all the only one I
Yeah,
had.
if you want to, we could always hook your phone up. The what do you call it? You said there's going to be a Coast Guard helicopter there. Is it
There's
there
state
all day?
police helicopters
Oh,
pretty
state
much
police.
flying around all day. There's sheriff boats in the water just kind of patrolling. State Marine Police are out there. So it's like a full-on event. They
Okay.
There's the dock at Tyson Shoal. That gets, they use buoy markers, channel markers, create a channel. So if you find, we eventually pick up the victim that we're going to find whenever it is, we need to have a way to get them to land. So we go down that open channel. Like actually last time this happened, we were trying to find someone who was in and out of consciousness. So I hopped on one of the sheriff boats and they have us just kind of driving around looking for this person. We, it's a whole day affair.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. So let me go back with the off beach. So the off beach, so the audience knows and people on podcasts. So your beach is called Island Beach State Park, and you have your guarded areas. There's 2 towers or 2 I don't know what you call them, 2 pavilions.
Yep.
And then you have another 8 miles of beach that's not guarded, but people have trucks that they go on the beach, or there's parking spots there and they go on the beach, and there's no lifeguards there, and basically swim at your own risk. And when somebody gets in trouble, they get on a cell phone and they call 911, and you guys have to get in a truck and drive down there, or jet skis, and try to save somebody. Yep. Now, back in the day when I was working there with Joe Casino and these other guys, there was, the cell phones were, I'm trying to remember because this was in the 90s. Cell phones were this way, that way. So most of it was we would get a call. Somebody would call up, I guess, and they would call, the headquarters, but we would get the Rangers would call us, But anyway, Joe did a lot more than me. I was involved in 2, I remember. But it always turned out they were either got in by themselves, thank God, somebody helped them,
That
or they were
happens a
dead.
lot. Surfers are out there too.
Or they were dead,
Yeah.
And I was there the one day where a guy, unfortunately, the lifeguards were doing maintenance, and I went up there because I was working out. And this is years ago, my first marriage, actually. And this poor guy drowned in front of everybody. I wasn't there. I was working out. And then actually they got him out. He had his body in front. I guess they pronounced him. And it was sad. But it's basically, a tough situation there. I think it's a unique situation. I don't know how many beaches around here, other than California. I don't even know anywhere how many, do you know any other beaches have off beach,
maybe
kind of
Sandy
scenario?
Hook.
I don't know. It's a good
similar
question.
something.
You know what? We got a guy who we swim with in the pool. He's a former Sandy Hook lifeguard.
Dave?
Yeah. We should ask him. He never said anything about that. I know they have a nude beach. And he always, but they didn't. It's a federal. But that's a unique thing. Certainly, other than Sandy Hook, I don't think anybody else has that kind of scenario.
Not that I know of, at least definitely not in not in Jersey.
And you guys got to train for that, and that's a whole.
That was
nother
like
animal.
the day that you came down is the day that we had our rookie class experiencing that kind of all on their own. But that's the one thing where because of that unique situation is that it's, so Tyler, you're talking about the AI thing. There's going to be some things that you can never replace human judgment because majority of, the rescue techniques are simple. This is the way I teach the rookies every year is that we're teaching you the textbook rescues. But in my experience, I've never been on a textbook rescue. And then if you're going on an off-beach rescue, it is certainly never textbook because, examples would be like, we go down for half the time, we get wrong information. So we'll get down, we're on the way down preparing for one thing. Turns out to be something completely different. So we got a call for like, I don't know, let's say it's like somebody broke their arm skimboarding, but it might not even be anything related to that. It's, could be something like somebody is actually actively drowning or whatever the case is. So kind of it's more than just the rescue training. It's the being ready for anything, expecting the unexpected. And location is a huge one because most people go down south and park. They have no idea where they are. So also kind of knowing that map, like of the park, like it's your own house is really critical. There's a few summers ago, there was someone who experienced a heart attack, and we had to find them because they didn't give us really an accurate location. So we're going back and forth with Ocean County to try and figure out if they can get a callback number and figure out where they are. And we got just the smallest tidbit of information. It was that the only other marker they could give us was we're 100 yards south of a dock. And based on the area that we were in, I knew there's only one dock near that general broad area. So we just followed that clue and went and found them.
Yeah. And
so the hide and seek game is a big part of that training.
So you're in charge of training all the rookies, or
so over the last couple of summers, I kind of took on that responsibility of and come to really enjoy it. It's kind of like teaching young kids how to perform in a physical atmosphere in the water as a group, as a team, and learning skills. Kind of like I do it every day of the year, being a swim coach and doing that. So I've come to kind of like make that program something that I do every year, or I spearhead every year, with help from, of course, the officers and senior guards. And we run the rookies through our training program where before they even touch the stand or sit on the stand for real for the first time in uniform, they go through everything that we can throw at them. And all the skills compound, so obviously you start with just how to enter the water without equipment, and you go all the way up until, you get through jet ski and stuff. And then Mike, when you came down for us, with us last year, right? Yeah. Was the day that we had them going through the off-beach training, which is, takes everything. It's one of the last few things that we do. And I don't want to reveal too much. One of the things is, as a rookie, we were sworn to secrecy after, because we try to keep that mystery going on from the next class. Because if you know what's coming, it defeats the purpose of part of the training, like I was explaining, is you might not know what you're getting yourself into. Well, so we like to try to keep that too.
I want to ask you about that that uncertainty that you never know exactly what you're running to, no matter how much information you've been given beforehand. And this is obviously true in Island Beach. It's true in Seaside Heights. I assume it's true with all lifeguarding locations. How do you instill that in the rookies? Like, what kind of techniques do you use to make sure that they really understand that?
We try to vary the rescue scenarios that we make for them. We never do the same thing twice. After we get through the basics, we usually never do the same thing twice. Like, let's say we're talking about just regular torp rescues. Every scenario is going to be different. So we might spread our victims out, or we'll have them face the dunes while we go random places, or especially on the off-beach day when we go down island. They normally when we're driving in the truck or whatever, we have a basic information from the radio call, so we'll know how to more or less prepare for what we think we're about to get into. When we're taking the rookies stop by stop, we don't tell them anything. They'll try to ask, what are we about to do? And I'll throw them something. I might say, I know what's coming up. I might tell them something completely wrong so that they know they got to bring just every single piece of equipment that's packed. And they have to, as soon as they get over the dunes, so at every area, there's a parking lot and there's a path through the dunes. As soon as they get over the dunes, we teach the first person to start immediately. You get eyes on the water, you start scanning, so that you can also relay the information back to whoever's traveling behind you, and just call out whatever you see.
Yeah.
So just kind of get the scanning piece too.
Yeah.
That's harder to do than it sounds because when we take our breaks, we're all up in our headquarters up by the boardwalk, and sometimes a rescue will go down while we're on a break. So we all have to come sprinting out of the headquarters, and we'll know what street it's on. They'll be yelling, "Fremont rescue," and you're sprinting down there, and it takes a little bit to locate exactly where it is.
So it's a good point you make, and a couple of things. You know, you're saying you have to be what Off Beach gives you the opportunity to train these kids to deal with adversity, but also intel could be wrong. This is true with military. This is true with medicine. You'll get a message. It's basically intelligence, however you get it, and you always have to pepper it because. I mean, I don't know how many times I've been in La Valette working out in the morning and we get a call that somebody's out in the water drowning, and really it's just some guy swimming. Yeah. And what happens, though, is here's the thing. You get this call that somebody's drowning, and it's really just some swimmer out there, and you go crazy. You know, we had on the beach, I've seen it sometimes where we'll get a call, somebody's on the beach having a heart attack. And that's what the call is. These lifeguards will get on an ATV and drive 100 miles an hour and can run over a kid. You know, they haven't, but they could. And they're panicking. And you get down there, it's nothing. I think about 3-4 years ago, one of the lifeguards called up a young kid, and he's like, there's 3 people unconscious on the back of the beach. Well, when we hear that, I think three ODs. And we have ODs on the beach, not that many, thank God. But it turned out it was one lady. I think she had, she was drunk or maybe had corona. She had a stroke. That's what it was, which is bad enough. But it wasn't 3, young kids OD'd. So what you have to do is you teach these kids something that's valuable all through their life. Is you get down there, you have to scan, and you can't panic. And that's another thing. Like on our beach here, when the kids come out of the headquarters, some are running like crazy. They don't even have a can. What I do in the morning. I set up the beach. I'm the guy who sets up the beach in the morning. And
just by himself. He drags all the stands down.
No, I don't. No. I'm talking about our headquarters. I set up our headquarters, and I'll put 3-4 cans at the end of our runway when we come out of the headquarters. I don't know how many times we'll have the lunch. There'll be a rescue. Kids run out of there, and the cans are still sitting there.
So
I'm like, guys,
that adrenaline shot that you have to temper with knowledge, and So the first time you do that, experience is part of it too. The first time you do that, you're running, you're like, oh, well, I guess I'm doing this with nothing, and then you've kind of figure it out after that.
We had one kid last year, the year before. He was there was a cover going on, and he was 3 beaches up, and he started running down, and it was done. The rescue was done and he's running by. He's still running. He's running down my stand doing a cover, and I yelled at him. I'm like, oh,
there's something so funny just about the reckless abandon of a rookie who's. They're so hyped to be a lifeguard. They think they're the coolest person ever. One kid my rookie year went for a rescue with his wallet in his pocket. 5 minutes later, dude comes walking back. He's like, I think you lost this. He's like, shit.
We sit there and we go. I get these kids. I get pissed off at night because I'll be sitting on a stand and they're next to me, and there's somebody in the water and they're getting in trouble. They're sitting there. And they may stand up, but they got sweats on, a hood on. Yeah. And I'm like, take that stuff off. And I've seen where people, they wait too long, and then the people out there start to go down quick, and they just jump off the stand. And I saw one that he swam with a hood, a sweat hood on, and the sleeves were so far ahead of his hands, far out, because he got so filled with water. And so these are things you anticipate. But the off-beach rescues on your beach, I think, teaches the kids, like you said, to scan, to look at it. You come over there. It's interesting because you go on the boat. The truck, and just picture this: you're going down this road. You can't see the ocean, and then you pull up and you got this dunes. It could be 100 yards, maybe more. And it's a little trail, and you don't see anything, and you're running on this thorns and everything. It's hot, the sand, and you're gassing. You got to carry all this equipment, which is an interesting thing. You come up to the berm, and then bang, there's the ocean, the noise, the waves crashing, people. The day I was there, it was some big ocean. Actually, there was a rescue right in front of us. They were doing Oars Beach, and this whole family was there, and they were struggling, and
and then we ended up pulling them in, and they still didn't understand why we had to do that.
Well, that's another.
I didn't know I was drowning. What are you talking about?
No, I was fine.
Right. We should, and there's days where I say we should let them drown a little bit, then they know that they're being rescued. Our model is we're so good, and I don't mean that to be conceited, but we're so good. We know when you're going to drown. Before you know it, we pull you in.
Yeah, we say it, trained eyes save lives.
Right.
So you know
That's
what
a
to
good
look
one.
for.
But
And Mike, you called it that day.
Oh, yeah,
You said someone's going to drown, and
it was bad ocean.
it
That
happened that day.
Somebody.
Someone's gonna drown.
Well, where's somebody?
You weren't wrong.
Where's somebody drowned that day?
I think that one might have been the Ortley one.
Yeah, that was a bad ocean that day, and it was hot. It was hot, and I think it was low tide towards the end of the day. I don't remember exactly the tide, but there was some big ocean. There was 3 to 4.
Yeah.
You know, pretty good, solid 3 to 4, maybe even bigger. Maybe every once in a while
And
5.
That's the worst one, because like when it's a lake, it's usually fine. And when it's really big, people are smart enough not to go in. But it's the deceptive ocean when it's like it doesn't look that bad to the untrained eye, so they take their chances.
So there was
It's
this.
like clean, but you can see the rips.
Yeah. The rips were cranking.
Oh.
And what happened is we were finishing up, right? And so this was the last off beach. So, the lifeguards are out there, and so everybody's in, and I'm sitting there, and Chip who's the captain now. I go, Chip, they look, we're looking, and his family's like they're struggling, and they're in the rip, and it's not a small, it's cranking. So I don't remember exactly, but I think some of the, a couple girls went out, you don't think any rookies went out. I don't know if you went out or Chip, but they didn't take a rope out, but they guided the people in. Maybe they gave them a can, they swam in. I don't remember exactly.
Something like that.
Yeah, but here's the funny thing about it, and this is very true if anybody's listening to this. Get on a beach, and some of the family starts giving the lifeguard an attitude. Like
some lip.
yeah, and I'm sitting there, and that's typical though. We have that all the time. I had a lady, I don't know if it was last year, or year before. And I was sitting on a stand. It was like 3, 4 of us, and it was, we were hanging out. It was pretty rough ocean, but these people were right in front of us. It was high tide, and it was like the gully, and this woman was struggling, and she started drowning, and she got a little bit better, and so I sent the lifeguard down and go talk to her. Anyway, she started getting an argument with the lifeguard. I could see the body English, so I sent the other lifeguard down. I don't know if it wasn't you, maybe it was Sean, and then I see them looking at me going, so I had to go down, and she was nasty. And she basically said to me, she goes, the only reason you're not letting me swim is because you guys can't swim. And I said to her, well, I can swim better than you.
That's right. Let's race to the buoy.
Yeah, let's go. But it's so funny how people are. And that's another issue. But getting back to the initial thing you're talking about, you're training these kids to be aware of their environment. Think about it could be a changing scenario, and that's something that's valuable all through your life. Like you said, you learn that on our beach when you're up in the headquarters. You don't know what's going on. You come over the berm and bang, you got a scenario.
Well, and if someone were to ask me personally what the biggest life tool I've taken from my time on the beach, it's how to keep cool and react to a really uncomfortable situation where like shit is not going well.
Yeah. We in the morning, Rob Connors, the captain, and I open up. So we're usually there the first one.
Shout out to Rob.
Yeah. So nobody's there. So again, I don't know if it was last summer or summer before, and we come over and I could hear people in the water. And I didn't hear anybody yelling, but I could hear it. Yeah, but we go a lot of times. We come in, there's people in the water, there's people on the beach, because they open up the gates at 6:30. Anyway, so I come over, and we open up the headquarters, and these people are in the run. And I can see it's 2 girls and a guy. And I can see they're struggling. They're not drowning yet, but they're, he's trying to help them. So I go down. And I'm sitting there, and I'm trying to talk to the family, and they give me an attitude, I'm like, I said, they're drowning, in the meantime, he's going backwards, So then 2 lifeguards come down, I go get them, so they get the 2 kids, and they come in, the father's struggling, but he makes it in, and he's like, prostate, throwing up, not almost throwing, but, and he goes, oh, thank you so much.
What about his prostate?
No, he's prostated. The word is he was exhausted. He was overcome by emotion and fear that he was drowning. And he said it to me. In the meantime, his family, maybe his daughter, was giving us an attitude, which is funny. But I said to the father, I said, another 5-10 minutes, it would have been done. They would have been drowned. They would have been dead. So for the luck of for their luck, and the 2 girls were hurting big time, and then they left the beach. They had enough for the day. So that's another thing too. But I came on, and I had to make it, look at everything, decide what's going on. Maybe 30 seconds. I had to make the decision.
So Corey, you mentioned a little bit ago that the other officers are really involved with your training of the rookies. How collaborative? Do they have input And if so, like, how important do you think that is to building this program and continuing to evolve it to keep up with the times, I guess?
Yeah, so we have our basic structure of, you know, what skills we're going to try to cover, and it's, you know, usually the same school that we run every year. We have a basic structure of how we want to run it, but, you know, there's going to be the changing conditions every day, how we want to, you know, sometimes we have, like, say for example, we have like a really big class. We have some of the rookies are athletes, some are still training to, you know, get up to that same level. So we'll talk about how we want to, you know, divide up the responsibilities, who wants to teach this skill. Sometimes we'll put it in the hands of a senior guard to kind of also promote their leadership ability so that when the rookies see them in that leadership role. And then when you're teaching a skill, it kind of improves your own confidence in it. So we'll do a little bit of that.
So do you also use it as a way to help senior guards get more comfortable in that role?
Absolutely. One of the key aspects of it is when we're running all these scenarios, especially in like the very beginning when we're going over the basics, we're taking some of our higher guards and they're going to be the victims because they have the experience and they know what to look for and they know what to teach. If a rookie who's on their, you know, third day in training makes a mistake when they're going out for a rescue, that senior guard who is their victim is going to give them the feedback that they need to get better. So they're going to say, oh, you turned your back to me when you were reaching for your torque, or, you know, you let go of me when we went on this wave, or whatever it is. They're going to be the ones that are also, we're communicating the officer staff that are running the training, and then the senior guards, we talk about how did that go, who did really well, who didn't, and then one of the biggest things is, are they all making the same mistakes? Because if they're all making the same mistakes, then it's on us. Then we're not teaching them correctly. So that's
a really good way to think about
it. So, and then that goes along with, like, you know, at the end of the whole thing, we make them, don't want to divulge too many of our secrets, but we basically put them through a huge gauntlet where they are on their own for the first time ever and have to demonstrate everything we've taught them. And then we'll get with all of the people who were involved in that process, in that test, and we'll say, you know, who did really well throughout, who did not, and what did they all excel at? What was their weakest area? And then we can know for the future how we need to better improve that, what we need to spend more time on doing.
I like what you do there, and you know, and I'm going to make a point about that because I think that you take it to the next step, which I think is good. So we'll train the lifeguards, you know, Lavalette, Seaside, you know, so we'll train the lifeguards, you know, so we'll have CPR, you know, you get the class and you test it out, but then, you know, on the beach we'll have broken necks, we'll show how it is. But everybody's standing there, and we have the kids go in the water and come out. But we're still supervising. I like the idea of just saying, okay, stand there, and then, you know, let them all run in and don't say anything to them. Just let them do what they got to do, and then critique it. And you know, don't say anything while they're doing it. And you know, we run out of time. I mean, we train heavy duty. Don't get me wrong, and we have a lot of supervisors that watch everything. But I like it. You guys take it to that extra step, and then have, like, you know, the mock. Just let them do what they want to do. Yeah. And when they were doing these off beaches, these guys just lay low and let them take care of everything. And these are young kids, and you watch them, you can see them thinking and trying to deal with it. You know, I like that. And they didn't know what was coming up either.
No, and throughout the whole thing, a lot of the time, especially as we get deeper into the training, the very beginning, you know, we're going to give them a lot of guidance, give them all the tools. And once they've been taught numerous times, we'll let them make the mistakes. So then we'll, and like you saw this process, we'll let them go through the full rescue. And then the first thing we're going to say is, what did you do well? And what did not go well? And then they know immediately. And, you know, a lot of the times it can be the communication amongst themselves, you know, so we'll have those, like, emerging leaders where, you know, they're all in the same age range between, like, you know, like 16 and 20 for the most part. And then you're going to have some that kind of step up and take charge, and then you're going to have the ones that are more the follower. But everybody knows what they could have done better, and then we just keep asking those questions. So Chip likes to use the Socratic method. Is basically you're teaching them you're asking them the questions, and you're just guiding them to answer their own questions.
Right.
Because they know the answers. You just have to help them figure out what it is. Because, like I said, all the skills are really basic, and when you mess up, you know it. But it's like in that heat of battle and that adrenaline, you have to temper that adrenaline boost with Then, another one from Chip. I've learned a lot from the man over the years. He says, where's the most in a hurricane? The most still areas in the middle of it, right? You have to be the eye of the storm, where everything else around you is moving really fast. You got to be able to take that second, take a breath, and recognize what's happening. And by doing that, it just teaches them more and more how to have that, calm under pressure thing, and how to evaluate an ever-changing scenario. So you go down thinking it's going to be one thing, and maybe it is that thing, but while you're responding to that one thing, something else entirely different happens, and you might have to break off the group. And
it is weird how time will slow down, and you feel like you almost have too much. Like, I'm thinking about a string of rescues in particular in September a few years ago, where we went from Lavalette to Seaside Park, back to Lavalette again, and we're just driving the quads and stuff, and like, you're flying down the beach, and it probably only takes like 3 minutes to get to where you're going, but it feels like the longest ride ever. Okay, what am I going to do when I hit the water? Like, how far, what am I going to do if this victim's like 200 yards out? What am I going to do if they're laying on the beach, like motionless, and you're just running through all these scenarios, and time just comes to a standstill. And then next thing you know, it's like, okay, it's go time now. And we're sprinting across the sandbar. We're doing what we need to do,
That's one of those things that I think comes with the experience. Is I remember being like a rookie, and then something would happen and we would respond, and whether we did it well or we didn't, afterward I'd be like, I don't remember what I even just did, because it happened so quickly. And then you've kind of gained that further experience level when you can have that slowed down perception, and you've seen more things, so it could be this or it could be this, could be this, and here's how I'm going to handle that.
And it's like a balance between going into like automatic mode and just letting your instincts and your training take over, but you have to still have the presence of mind to make the decision about, okay, like what instincts am I going to turn on here,
And you're never going to have that your first handful of rescues. It's going to be that chaos, and then once you've been through it enough, you have the ability to think clearly.
And that's why too, in our jobs now, supervisors are so key. When I was doing lifeguarding back in the 70s and 80s, we didn't, on our beach, we really didn't have sergeants. We did, but they didn't sit on the beach. In other words, we had a captain, assistant captain. There was a lieutenant who ran the north end, but pretty much, everybody was older too. We had nobody under 18. Everybody. Very rare. You have maybe one kid, maybe two. Everybody was in their 20s. Most of us going to college, very mature, and we didn't need a lot of guidance. But now we have a lot. Half the beach patrols are 16, 17 years old. So when you train these kids, it's good. But then also, I was going to ask you, how do you train yourself, and how does the officers train to supervise? Because on the big beaches now, all of them, you need to have a lot of supervision. And when there is rescues, multiple rescues, or somebody's having an overdose or a heart attack, you need to be the calm there, like Chip was talking about. But we need to train too. And you guys, how do you guys train your officers, like to deal with the to interface and give orders and direct the situation? What do you guys? How do you do that? What is Chip? What's your? What I'm saying?
Yeah, I follow you. I think leadership comes in many forms and in many levels. Like, it's a skill that there are people who come who have it a little bit more naturally, the natural leaders, but it's something that you have to practice. And leadership at a rookie level is going to be leading your victim to safety, sort of thing. Whereas as you climb up the chain, you get to that senior guard level, leadership is now showing the way to that rookie of how do you handle each situation. And then leadership as an officer is going to be teaching and guiding the senior guard to be a leader. So training leaders sort of thing. So it's incremental.
I think a big part of that too, for actually every step of that, is like taking responsibility.
Yeah.
When you said some rookies tend to stand out. A lot of times they're high level athletes, at least on our beach. But one of the first things you'll see them do is like look at their peers and be like, come on guys, let's do better next time.
Yeah.
I know we can do better.
Yeah, if you could get the kids to be trained where you don't have to supervise them, that's great.
So
that's the ultimate goal. But where it's a well-oiled machine. But I found, see, you guys have we have high density beaches where we work, so we need to we have a lot of stuff going on our beach. It's sometimes we're getting so packed now, especially with the tents and the canopies. You can't even see the water, and you can't see the people. Like, in other words, all you see is a sea of these things, and you can't see inside. So we're getting the same problem like what is it called, Frutella, for the boats. Floricella. So we're getting
like
basically
a breakfast dish,
right? But we're getting like that. We're getting like that on the beach now. So some days we have more stuff on the beach. But I just was making a point that I know that, like, when Tyler become an officer, I try to train these guys to be aware of things, and you gotta know the personalities you're dealing with, know the kids you're dealing with, know who's strong, who could see the water real well, who could swim well. I mean, I don't know who sets up the in your beach, who sets up the schedule, how many, but Rob is really, really good at it, and he takes a lot of time to match and mix who's on the stand together. Don't put a swimmer who's a little bit better with somebody who's better with the eyes.
In the soccer world, they call that man management.
Yeah,
so like
that's hard. That's a big part of lifeguarding.
So most famous manager of all time, his name's Alex Ferguson. He was so good at, like, for example, he had a player on the team. His name was Louis Nani, I think, who just could not handle being confronted about his mistakes. So, but there was another player, Wayne Rooney, who was just like this fireball of a guy that could, if you would yell at him, he would go out and perform better. So Louis Nani was having a terrible first half. They went into the locker room at halftime. Wayne Rooney was playing perfect. Alex Ferguson just got in Wayne Rooney's face and just, you're doing this wrong. You need to track back and defend. You need to do this and that. Like, completely ripped him apart, knowing that the other guy, Nani, would be on the side listening to that and being like, oh, I got to pick it up before he does that to me.
Yeah.
And like you said, how Rob will shuffle up the lineup and, okay, I'm going to sit this rookie with this senior guard because, she's good at teaching this part of the job and that's what this rookie needs. Or understanding that some guys and girls need to be pushed a little harder, and then some you need to put your arm around a little
skills. More. So you guys have rotating stands every day. You have days off, so you can't. So who does the schedule on your beach?
So we at the beginning of the summer we break it down into squads. Yeah, and then there's a sergeant. So there's 12, 13 guards per squad, and there's a sergeant at the head of each one. So that sergeant's responsibility is going to be to make their work schedule. So to make their stand assignments, figure out who's days off or what the days off schedule is going to be, and then with the guards that you have on each given day like Tyler, you're talking about, that's at that higher level leadership, is how to get the best out of the guys that you have there that day. Is the sergeant will make the stand assignments for the day, but there's some communication going on with the neighboring sergeant of who's going to be to your north, to your south. So if you know that you're responsible for covering your squad this week is these 3 stands. So the southernmost of that stand, I know that the squad to the further south, let's say, they're going to have that next neighboring stand is going to have, maybe let's say someone who is really good at watching the water and can see everything. And then you have on the next neighboring stand, you got some, let's say they're a little bit younger, just because that's the way that the hierarchy works out and the assignments work out, that you have some younger guards, but some really good athletes that can take direction from their neighboring stand if need be. It's going to kind of work in conjunction. So we'll pretty much maintain that schedule all throughout the year. So everybody has a set schedule, where you're going to be, when you're going to be, but we rotate down the beach all summer. So you see each stand assignment is going to sit at every location basically throughout the beach. We go through that cycle. It takes 1, 2, 3, 4 weeks for a squad to return back to their starting position. So we do that as opposed to, like, let's say some beach pros that they'll sit, your stand, this might have been did like Lavalette, for example, you have your street, Trenton, whatever it is, and you're covered in that stand all summer long.
Fremont Ave, baby.
Yeah.
So, like, let's say the water in front of that stand, you have a calm, you don't have a rip there or anything like that. You're not really getting you're getting that experience all summer long. We like to rotate it up so everybody sees every part of the beach, because every 50 yards it could be a totally different situation in the water.
A sergeant has a responsibility of how many stands?
3.
3. Okay. So let me ask you this. This is an interesting thing because I saw this on another beach. So the sergeant is responsible for those 3 stands.
Yep, that's their squad.
And the
Those are
water.
their-
And that
their
water.
people.
Now, does that group of 3 stands and that sergeant also watch the rest of the water, like other stands, other groups?
So per stand, our standard is you scan stand to stand. So the stand to your north, you're looking at the water in front of them, the water in front of your stand, the
So you
water
have
to your
overlap.
south. So there's overlap in the coverage of the scanning. So like on the micro level, that stand is responsible for the area in their immediate area. And then we have the beaches basically split into the northern half and the southern half. So whoever is occupying, whichever officers, there's lieutenant and 3 sergeants on each side. That's a collective effort to cover and maintain that entire half, the north half or the south half of the beach. So it's not like we're just putting a sergeant in front of these stands and you ignore everything else.
Right.
We share that responsibility of the whole half,
Right.
and we'll talk about how do we want to run the beach today based on the conditions, based on the crowd and the weather and everything like that.
I think I gotta split, but I'll make one point before I leave. That overlap is
Well, the lieutenant would then be
that overlap of scanning, because something my senior guards, and I'm sure you said this to me too, is like you should never be caught off guard by the stand either north or south of you going on a rescue. Even if it happens at that.
See, when I go up on a stand, I watch the whole beach. So these
So
guys,
that's
like
that
they're
higher
sitting,
level.
they're 5 stands down from me.
Don't put it me like these guys.
No, but I have the binos and I'll call them up. Hey, and like they're like, how can he see that?
Yeah, everybody hates to be the one getting called out. But yeah,
I'll
so
call
the
stuff
stands
out.
overlap. But then like when you're at that upper level, you're not just watching stand to stand. You're watching like beach to beach kind of thing.
I tell you how bad it is. I'm on the south end. We have the casino pier, which is about 100 yards. North to south. I've called up the north end last summer because I seen somebody, and I said, hey, and they started laughing. Anyway, let's.
I gotta run.
Let's
guys
pack it. No, because I can't control.
Well, I'll tell
everything.
one more story that we used to have a lot of fun calling each other out for having kites on our beach. And one time, I was sitting on Sheridan, which is just north of the pier, and I saw a kite just over the pier. So I switched my radio channel to because we go 1 and 2 for the north end and the south end, and I switched it over, and I was just like, Sheridan to Blaine, you got a kite going up behind you. And then whoever, I think it was Troy, one of the south end officers, was just like, get off the radio, go back to channel 2.
You're doing too much. Well, listen, Corey, thanks for coming. I mean, we got to have you. Today was a short day. You know what it is? Last week I was at a seminar and I've been on trauma calls, so I've been pretty busy. But it was good. It was nice to see you. Yeah, and I think State Park. I think Chip and you guys do a great job there. It's an unbelievable beach, and it's to me it's the height of professionalism, and it's really good. I think we're
right
all
up
the
there
beaches.
with Seaside Heights.
Our beach is tough. I mean, I tell you what, New Jersey beaches, from all the way up, all the way down, South Jersey, everybody. It's you got damn good lifeguards, good athletes. I mean, we're just as good as anybody else. And the thing is, those guys in California and Florida who work all year round, we actually got it tougher, I think, a lot of times because we got to swim in the cold friggin' water. Yeah. We only got a couple weeks, months to really, a couple weeks to get up to speed. And and we compete against those guys just as good. So, what were we going to say, Corey?
I think, what was it, like at USLA Nationals? LA County wins almost every year, but you know who? The only team to beat them, I think it was
Monmouth.
2 years, Monmouth County.
Yeah. And Monmouth had a lot of ocean, different guys. So, anyway, listen, thank you for everyone for tuning in. Once you, again, we're on all, YouTube, Rumble. We're also on Facebook. Give us a shout if you want to get on our show or talk to us. It's drkachmar@icloud.com. That's drkachmar@icloud.com. You go see my
subscribe.
We have a webpage, Jersey Shore Foot and Leg Center.com. This is Dr. Michael Kachmar, and this is Lifeguards Off Duty with Dr. Michael Kachmar. Anything else you got to say there? Goodbye, everyone.
Nothing, Michael Kachmar.
Okay, go. Take care.
Like, subscribe, Stay out, stay alive. I got to go.
Bye. Hit that up.